Hey.
Hola, señorita.
Okay, wait. Okay, I gotta back my
Yeah, turn this up too.
thing up here. Okay. All right. Whoop. Hello everyone. Okay.
Hello. I got my cat mom mug again.
I love it. I love it. Hello, welcome to Soul Sessions. This is my beautiful friend Traci. Yes. We are going to be talking about shadow work today, everybody's most fun topic. There's a lot of that, like going out in the collective and just with people individually, diving like real deep into their shadow selves. So we figured we would talk about it in case that helps somebody.
I'm excited.
Yes. So first we'll just talk about what is shadow work.
So yeah, you go first.
Okay. So shadow work to me is bringing things that are deep in the subconscious or like deeply rooted, or maybe things that have been repressed, or maybe that you have rejected inside, or that you haven't been able to express in your life, to the light to be transmuted. Exactly. So it's those pieces of us that are like under that rug. Sometimes that we sweep under there, or we don't even know about.
But it's like working with it and not against it.
Yes, it is letting it flow through you.
Yeah.
So it can come up and come out.
Exactly. That's basically what I was going to say, is just working with repressed emotions.
Yep. And sometimes it can be trauma or like memories too that need to be healed. Also, this live is interactive, so if anyone wants to join in the comments, feel free.
Yeah,
or
if you
if
have an interpretation.
Oh, we said interpretation at the same time.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
Yes. So I wanted to share this cool quote that I found a minute ago, and it's from Carl Jung. Hey, I think you're...
Hi, Allie.
Hey, Allie. Yeah, I was going to say, I think your friend joined in. Hey. So Carl Jung said, shadow work is the path of the heart warrior.
Cute.
How do you feel when I say that, Traci?
Well, it's cool that you say that, because like with my yoga teacher training, we do trauma informed, and she calls them trauma warriors.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, it's cute.
Cool. Okay. Let me ask you a question. So why do you think that Carl Jung chose that word, warrior?
I mean, because trauma, like, I don't know, trauma's pretty like aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like going through war, basically. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, imagine the crazy shit that we went through when we were young and we didn't realize, like, this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
This is not correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just carry it through until you're like older. Yeah.
I think on the other side of that too is it takes a very like brave and courageous person to like get in there and look at that stuff and heal that stuff.
Exactly.
Because sometimes we can just like bypass it and just be like, I don't want to look at that.
Well, that's what it is, like going towards that fear of like the unknown, or like the fear of like your past that you don't want to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would like to say too that I have been finding a lot, like working with people in their trauma, is that sometimes people think that trauma has to be like societal trauma, where it's like these big gigantic events.
Oh yeah.
But like trauma can be like these teeny little things. Yeah. It doesn't have to be like quote unquote a huge major event. It can be something your parent says to you. It can be something a friend says to you that just sticks with you and like buries very deep back in your subconscious. And now you're living through that perceptual lens of whatever they said to you. Or even when you're a child, like you don't, like something that would happen now as an adult, we'd be like, that's nothing. But as a child, it might be traumatic. Like for your parent to like leave and go to work, and you're like, where are they going? Are they ever coming back? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you can spawn abandonment, like all kinds of things from there. Yeah. And I give the example of like, if you have a child who they bring you your artwork and they're like, here, look at this. And you're like, I don't have time for that right now. Or you should change something on here. Like that doesn't look good. And now you're coming from like not wanting to be creative, not feeling worthy, not feeling loved, not feeling that unconditional, like safe space. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you tell yourself, I'm not creative. I'm not good enough.
Hi, Morty.
Hey, Morty. Hey. But that's something that can carry with you through life. Like your parents say that to you, and now you're like, I'm not a creative person.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was watching this. This girl had a shadow book, and basically it was like fill in the blanks and like you kind of just whatever pops into your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I don't know, something about basically like, I think that when I was younger, like maybe my parents told me that children like shouldn't speak at specific times, so it kind of made me like be very shy and like kind of introverted when it comes to like talking to other people. So I mean, the thing is, like, you as a parent, you never know like what you say to a child that could like hurt them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Allie said, I think that's super important. I always make a big deal about my daughter's creativity and artwork.
Aww.
That's awesome. Yes, I have my son's like artwork like all over the fridge, like the whole thing is covered in it, and he's like, "Why do you have that up there?" And I'm like, "Because I'm proud of you." Yes.
Do you want to jump into?
I was going to give one more example, and I was going to be something a little vulnerable that I'll share with everybody that I've been working on with my shadow self. Okay. Oh, Allie said her whole door is covered in them. Aww. That's cute. So when I was younger, I was 11 to 12 years old. My grandparents adopted me and my sister. And so it cost a lot of money. It cost like $20,000. And it took a very long time. And all the time they would talk about like how stressed they are about money. They're like, this is costing us so much money. And so when I was a child, I had associated being a burden and money and like guilt and shame like all together. And so when I did some like past version healing, I could like go back and talk to my 12-year-old self, and she was like, it's my fault, like money is bad because money means that I'm a burden. And so that stuff was like projecting into my now timeline, where it was like, if I have like anything around money is shame and guilt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so when I went back to like speak with her, I was like, whoa, that was like a pivotal timeline shift, right? About my fundamental beliefs. And so that's why I wanted to share in case anybody else has gone through something like that, like how detrimental, and they were doing the best they could.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they were adopting us.
You see what I'm saying? I'm sure they didn't realize what they were saying was like hurting your feelings or like even like getting into your mind. But it's just like they're so like stressed out.
Well, we went back in and then talked to my younger self, and we're like, we have to forgive my grandparents. Like we have to tell them like, thank you for what you did for us. We know you didn't know that was hurting us. Yeah. And we can't hold on to those emotions like that. Shadow work. Yeah. It wasn't the most fun time going back in and doing that because, you know, she was hurting. But once we did that, I felt so much better. I let go of so much like begrudgment and like resentment, you know what I mean? Like those narratives. Like, oh, they were just, it's not okay, but it's okay. Like they were doing the best that they could.
It's so funny. I try to think of like the word shadow work and people like seeing that. And I wonder like what people think that it is. You know what I mean? Like
a demon.
like something that's like, really, like someone that's like really religious that like hears that and is like, whoa, what is that? You know, like shadow work. But I mean, I don't know. It's just like going into your subconscious of these things that have kind of like are holding us back. Like I wrote down some notes of like what shadow work, like how I don't know, like I put patterns, like triggers, projections, fears. Like that's how you know that there is shadow work to be done. When you start noticing like patterns of things that are like holding you back from things that you want to like accomplish, or like when you're in a conversation with someone and something that they say like triggers you. And then you're like, okay, well, why did what they said to me trigger me? And you kind of like, okay, well, like, is there like a specific moment in time? But
I think that's a great point too, because every time we get triggered by something, there's a piece of us that needs to heal with that. Yeah. On some level. Maybe not the exact same level, but on some level, it's like, why am I getting triggered with that?
Yeah.
So do you want to share some practices or tools that people can do to help get like jump started? I have a list here in front of me, but I don't want to double up if you have some, and then I can go.
Well, I mean, as of recently, we've been doing mirror work, both of us. So like we'll like discuss what the topic's going to be, and then like we'll like first-handedly do it so that we can tell other people our experience with it, so then they kind of have an idea. So mirror work, you can do it in like different ways. One way you can do it is by looking in the mirror and basically just saying positive things to yourself. Like, I love you, you're so beautiful, you're so talented. Like, and just kind of like, oh, that's weird. Anyways, my ring thing went off. Creepy. Anyways, so
shadow.
The shadow.
Yes.
But yeah, just kind of giving yourself compliments, because if you're not doing it to yourself, then you look outside of yourself for it. So if you're doing it to yourself, then you don't really have to go outward to receive those compliments from someone else. If you're already doing it for yourself. And then another way that you can do mirror work is basically just sitting in front of a mirror and just looking at yourself. As weird as it freaking is.
Yep.
And my experience, do you want me to go into my experience, or do you want to kind of talk about?
No, you can if you want to, and then I'll just
okay, and segue into it.
Yeah.
So like when I did it, so I'm going to preface this by saying, if you're going to do mirror work, always like protect yourself. Like always like wear like something like obsidian. I was holding obsidian. I basically called upon my like ancestors, my guardian angels to protect me while I'm doing it, because mirrors can be portals.
You can even put incense over it, like divinely protected,
or maybe like holy water or something. I know I'm still like learning, so but basically like I set a timer 10 minutes and I just sat there and I looked at myself. And at first, of course, nothing like really happens, but then like your face starts to like blur, and it kind of starts to like kind of morph a little bit. And I started to see like my eye, but it was in the middle of my forehead, like a third eye. And I kind of did start to see like a face, like a male's face. But for me, more so what was happening with that is it was more like a mental thing. Like me, like kind of like working things out in my mind and like kind of talking to myself like mentally. So yeah, I thought it was interesting.
Do you ever feel like sometimes like you can see like your more masculine side on your right side and then your more feminine side on your left side? Like, has that ever come up in mirror work for you?
No.
I've had that come up like energetically before, where like I like ask a question to the mirror, and like I can see how like one side of myself kind of shifts per what that answer is, and like the difference between the two. It's kind of wild.
That is cool. I feel like our mirror work is completely different from one another.
It's a little different. But I mean, like everybody does like different things, right? And so I think it's also because I do so much work with like people in their past versions and like that type of healing, and I've been like working on that internally. So like when I'm doing mirror work, I'm directly speaking to my subconscious and to my past versions. That's cool. It's not so much like me here in the present. It's me like speaking directly to them and like being able to energetically see them while I'm talking to them, rather than just like internally in my mind or in my soul. And so like when I'm looking at myself in the mirror, I'm looking in my eyes, but I can see them inside. And so we're all having like a counseling coaching session together, and I'm like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I wish I had that kind of experience with it. I feel like I'm just so like analytical that it's difficult for me to do that.
And I'm woo esoteric.
I know.
But that's the beauty of things. Like everybody's supposed to do things in their own way, and like that's okay. But like you teach me how to be grounded, I can teach you how to be more like woo. But yeah, we should do that one day. We should do like I don't know if we can set up like a co-mirror like situation or something.
Okay, Tracy, this is what you're gonna do.
Yes.
still need to do mirror work. Eek, it's so bizarre to me.
Yeah, when you start doing mirror work, it's super cringy.
Yeah,
like it's really cringy, and sometimes you cry because like you're not used to talking to yourself like that.
No.
Like you're not used to telling yourself affirmations. You're not used to like hyping yourself up. You're not used to like embracing the beautiful things and like all your qualities. So like it's going against what your subconscious already has in there.
Well, you know what you can do to kind of alleviate that?
Mm-hmm. I can't hear you.
Oh, there what you can do is just imagine your younger self.
Yeah. That I tell people all the time, like younger self, like sometimes it's easier to help somebody else than help yourself. And if that means you breaking apart your younger self as a different consciousness form than you, and younger self could be 5-year-old you, 13-year-old, 20-year-old you. It doesn't have to be a child, but like that's how I do it. Like I literally talk to a younger version of myself, and that heals them, which heals me, which heals future me. So like it all runs concurrently like that together. So I think that's great advice. Like just talk to younger you.
Like be a mentor to your younger self through the mirror. Really.
Yeah. And it heals you too. Like even if you're saying you're beautiful and you're talking to 13-year-old you.
Exactly.
It still heals you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
And then I have here journaling. So you can find so many prompts on Google. Like if you just type in shadow work prompts, it has like so many questions that like will get you like jump started. But you can also just free write journal. Like if you have a memory that you're trying to let go of or trying to work through or release, you just think about it and just free write everything that you're feeling or thinking about that. And that is like putting that energy and taking it out of you and putting it outside of you on paper. Like it frees up so much space inside of you to take that out.
Well, you know, someone told me like, well, I don't want to write it down and then someone see it. I'm like, well, then you could just burn it.
Yeah.
Just like write it out and then burn it, like a fire pit or something, or bury it, and then it's gone.
Yeah, you could burying it in the earth is great too, because it's like Mother Earth coming in and transmuting, but like fire that's very representative of like that phoenix energy of releasing. Those are great. Or even like water on the paper, like washing.
Yeah, any like elements.
Yeah. A lot of that's about intention too. Like when you're saying like, I am releasing this, and then putting a ritual practice to it, like that just like amplifies it.
Well, and there's this thing, this guy, he couldn't forget anything. So someone told him to write it on a piece of paper and then burn it. And it makes you like forget like specific memories, like easier, I guess. I don't know specifically what the
interesting. He like remembered everything for always. If I remember, my brain would be like, I already have too much going on up here all the time.
Me too. Does anyone else like have any experience with shadow work?
Or like tips or tricks for people that have worked for you?
We would like to know.
Yes. Another one that I have is processing your emotions. So we don't like to feel our emotions sometimes, especially big feels. Like depression or just like massive amounts of anger or loneliness and like those deep things. And the thing about emotions is when you sit and you let those run through your body and course through your body, because we are energy in motion, when you say, you know what, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to feel angry. And I'm not talking about sitting there and seeping in it, because that's something completely different. But you saying like, I'm angry and that's okay. Like I'm a human being. It is okay to experience intense emotions. And when you sit with that and you just say, today's going to be an angry day. And then you let that go, it completely frees up that out of your body.
I know. I just saw something on TikTok. I saw something on TikTok where it's like, she was saying, okay, feel the emotions without like logically thinking about it, just feeling. And it should take about 2 minutes. If you just literally just sit there and like process it, it will take 2 minutes. I don't know if I believe that though, because I felt like angry or lonely or whatever, and I would just sit there and it would last for a while. So I don't know how true that is, but maybe I'm like still in here.
Yeah. I watched another TikTok where it was like, I don't understand what my therapist was saying with feel your feelings.
Yeah.
And they were like trying to intellectualize their feelings. And they're like, oh, I didn't realize I was actually supposed to have bodily reactions. Mm-hmm. Like when I'm angry, my body and my central nervous system feels like it's on fire.
Boy.
You have to sit with that and let it process through. Like your emotions just want to be seen, heard, and validated. Like they just want you to acknowledge them. And then when it's like a little small child that's throwing a temper tantrum. Like you just have to let them do that and say like, I'm here for you. I am going to walk you through this and support you while you do this. And then we'll reconvene when we're done here.
And shadow work, it's like, it can also be like when you're like, for me, like I like to help people a lot. I like to help people, but sometimes it's at the detriment of my own self. So it's kind of like setting like energetic boundaries for yourself. Like when you notice that like helping people is hurting you, you have to like start to realize like, shit, like I can't keep doing this at the cost of my own mind.
Are you talking about me right now?
That's why we get along so well, girl.
Okay. Because we even talked about that, like what's underneath that? Like, why do we feel like that's going in the shadow? Like, why do we feel like we have to overextend ourselves all the time? And so we talked about that, and I have a deep sense of like guilt and feeling like people will not like me, that they won't love me, right? Or that I'm going to be alone if I don't overextend all the time. And that stuff goes back to abandonment at childhood with my mom. So it's like you have to layerly peel back those things to find the root cause of them.
Yeah. And also it's kind of difficult for me because I disassociated a lot of those feelings when I was younger. So a lot of the things I don't even remember. Like I don't even remember like if there's something that I'm like upset about, there are things that kind of like fleet back to me a little bit. But most of the time I can't really remember my childhood in specific moments.
I think it's a lot of people that have had trauma. Like I've seen that a lot with people and even with myself, that like if you experience a lot of trauma, your brain blacks it out because you literally can't handle it. Like your central nervous system, your, human being, like you cannot handle that much trauma. So it just says,
it's like you're kind of like leaving your body.
Yeah, it's very disassociative, right? And then if you disassociate for a long enough, then you don't even know what it means to process your emotions.
Can I ask you, so what is disassociating to you? Like when you're doing it, like what is happening?
So like if I, like in the past when I was in a like abusive relationship, right? I would not feel the feelings. I would just say, I'm not going to cry about this. I'm not going to get angry. I'm just going to push it away and not deal with it, because if I deal with it, I'll have a breakdown, and I don't have time for a breakdown. And so I literally would just like stuff the feelings down. And so and just keep acting like everything's fine. Everything's okay. It's all right. Like it's cool. But then when you do that too many times, you keep doing it and doing it and doing it, that stuff starts to build up in your body, and then it starts to harden and it starts to crystallize. Now you're stressed, now you're anxious, and you're depressed. Because it's all those emotions like just built up in there.
And your body holds that trauma too.
Oh, yeah.
So right now I'm going through teacher training for yoga, and like specific movements will kind of like bring it to the surface. And we have like we'll do like a downward facing dog, child's pose. And it's basically like a deep, like you bring your arms forward and you put your butt back and you kind of just lean forward, and it opens up your hips, because women hold trauma in their hips the most. And some women will just start crying. Just cry. And like, we can't really like bring attention to it. Kind of just like let them like work through whatever is going on. But, yeah. And yoga is a good way of like getting that energy out in a positive way.
I do a lot of stretching. I know you're the yogi. I do a lot of stretching, and I have found that significantly helps. Like you were saying, emotions, when they're not processed, create denseness and hardness in your body. Like it creates disease in your body. And so like that's how you feel like tense all the time. Your back is like wrecked, right? And so stretching like pulls all that stuff apart from one another. Mm-hmm. Yes. It also helps like release things from your chakras. So yes. I also have talking it out is great. Like that's taking that energy and like taking it up out of you. You have to be really mindful about who you're being vulnerable with. Yeah. And we've talked about that. Like you have to be very mindful about who you're opening your soul up to. Is this person going to hold a safe space for me?
And also, are you going to put that energy onto someone else too? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't, find someone that's safe, find someone that, like they kind of have their shit together, because you don't want to talk about it with someone else, and then you're kind of just like trauma bonding. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, trauma bonding is definitely a thing. That's where you're just like nobody's getting anywhere. You're just like back and forth. Like, there's no problem solving happening.
Like he did that to you. Oh heck no.
Yeah, there's no problem solving going on. And you also need to find somebody that, when you talk about those things with, you feel good coming from it and they feel good coming from it. If either of you feel icky and yucky afterwards, it's not an energetic match. It's not a vibrational match.
Yeah, and are they hearing you? Are they hearing you? And because you can talk to someone, they could just be like, oh, sorry, that happened. Mm-hmm. You know?
There's a difference in people, and that's okay. Not everybody is meant to be your intentional listener. Like that is just not meant for everybody, right? But there's a difference in people saying like, dang, that sucks. And you going to somebody and then like intentionally trying to help you process through those things. Yeah. But you have to make sure that you're doing that for that person too.
Exactly.
Give and take.
Gabbo.
Yes, Gabbo. There's a give and take, right? So you got to make sure it's an equal energy exchange there. And then I have my favorite is working with your subconscious. I'm a big psychology person. All of those things sometimes are so deeply rooted in there and like so far back into childhood that the consciousness level you're at right now is not the same consciousness level that you were at when you were a kid. And so when you do all these affirmations and everything, like you're hearing that with your conscious adult mind, you need to talk directly to your subconscious, like to that child or whoever it was version of you that went through that. And so some of the ways you can do that is affirmations. Those are great at bedtime. Bedtime is when your brain is in theta state and is most open to reception. And so you can listen to you are affirmations. I started doing that instead of I am affirmations.
Because it's kind of like reprogramming your mind though, right?
Oh yeah.
It's a way of like reprogramming. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's literally reprogramming. The reason I do you are affirmations is because when we're children, we don't hear I am affirmations. We hear you are affirmations. And then challenging your thoughts. Like I think that there's so many people that think that we are our thoughts, but you can think about a thought. Like this is me thinking about my thought and saying like, I can either choose to align myself with that or not. And so that tells me there's a consciousness form behind the thought, thinking about the thought.
I just think that it's cool that, I don't know, I feel like some people aren't able to do that. You know what I mean? Like they consciously can't like stop themselves and be like, okay, is this a correct statement that I'm making about myself or someone else? Because I feel like sometimes, even with females, like we create these crazy stories in our mind sometimes, especially if the person that's on the opposite end is not like reciprocating the energy. Then we start to, okay, well maybe they're upset with me. Or did I say something like incorrect? Or like, is there something going on? So then like you start to create like these scenarios in your mind that probably is not correct. Yeah.
I totally agree with you. It's a muscle that you have to build too. Like, it's not something that I have found in my own personal experience. Like, I was very much in for so long, like, I am everything that I think about myself or other people. And now I'm at the level where I can be like, okay, that thought is not good for us.
Yeah.
That makes me feel constricted instead of expansive. So obviously that's not in alignment with my soul, right? And sometimes it's easier than others. Like if I'm going down a rabbit hole, sometimes it's a little more difficult.
Well, I mean, and it is a process. It's not going to be overnight.
Yeah. It's a muscle. You just got to keep
muscle memory.
You got to keep doing it. Yeah. And it gets easier over time. Sometimes it's easier than others.
Yeah.
When you're way deep in the shadow work, sometimes it's a little more difficult.
And sometimes you got to take a break from fucking shadow work.
Oh yeah, we can. Okay, well we can segue into that. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and again, if anybody has any comments or questions or wants to chime in, like please feel free in the comments. I really love that technique. Thank you for sharing. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to talk about how shadow work can become toxic. Healing can become toxic.
Yeah.
So would you like to go first?
Well, I mean, because you have to enjoy the moments. You can't just constantly be like, oh, what can I do next to fix myself? Like, you kind of have to, like, play.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy, like, bringing out my inner child and, like, going and doing fun things. Like, I'm sure, I don't know, like, our life isn't meant to just constantly heal all the time. No, like, it's great. Like, it has to be balanced, though.
Absolutely, because if you are constantly picking at yourself, like that's something me too. Like I constantly overanalyze like how I'm talking to people and like making sure I worded things correctly. And my guides are like, "Why are you doing that like all the time?" Like it's like deep rooted stuff, right? And so they're like, you can't do that all the time because you're picking at things that don't need to be picked at. Or sometimes we do shadow work and then we just keep digging, but we're not giving ourselves that integration period.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like a scab that you just like never let
heal over,
right? And then something my guides have been saying is that shadow work is like one aspect of spirituality and one way to heal, but another way to heal is like going outside and jumping in puddles, or or like blowing bubbles, or watching a sunrise or sunset, or hula hooping. Yeah,
like connecting with your inner child and doing something, doing something for your inner child that you wish that you could have done when you were younger and felt safe doing it.
That is just as healing as tackling your subconscious thoughts.
Yeah.
Like it really, really is, because it lifts your vibration. It lifts your frequency like so high up. If you're always steeped down in how do I get out of anxiety and depression and like all of these traumatic things that happen to me, like that's good. But if you're there all the time, you're just in that vibration constantly. And it looks like you're healing, but it's not, because you're just like stuck in it. And it's like kind of like that facadal healing.
Well, it reminds me of yin and yang. You know what I mean? Like yin is like going within the subconscious because it's a feminine energy, because it's emotional. And then yang is action. It's a masculine energy. So it's like doing. But there has to be a balance between the two.
Yep. And I want to stipulate too that I'm not saying me, and I know Traci is not above this, because I'll be getting way deep into shadow work. Like, I gotta overhaul my life and everything I'm doing is saying, like, let's just pick it all up, right? And then Traci will come in and then she'll say, like, when's the last time that you took a day off?
Yes.
Or did something fun? I'll be like, I don't remember.
Well, it's nice to have accountability. You know what I mean? Like, we keep each other accountable. Like, okay, you have a lot of people you're talking to, Brittany. Like, how is your energy feeling today? Yeah. Like,
when you hit me with the how's your energy today, I don't like that question. Because I know that you can feel me on the other side, and you're just like, she's broke on energy right now. Yes. But and that's a really good point too, like finding an accountability partner for both of them. Like, are you doing your shadow work? Are you having fun?
Yes.
Finding that person to keep you grounded. Yeah, but Traci never takes a day off either. Okay. Traci be cleaning and doing yoga every single day.
Yeah, I've been doing it a lot.
Yes. A lot. Yes. But I do that for her too. And so I'll say like, hey, what are you doing? Like, let's make sure we're doing fun stuff as well.
And Eric helps me out too. Like, we have fun and talk and act like little little kids. Like I'll be doing work and he'll be like playing the guitar, and we're just like fucking like collaborating basically. It's fun.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Benny helps me with that too. That's my son for anybody. But he helps me get into the like inner child's state of mind and have that like play, right?
He's so fun though.
He's very fun. He's very funny. He's very funny, especially how he was talking about trauma healing earlier.
Tell them.
Okay, so I was asking my son earlier. I had somebody reach out to me and say like, I want to be a life coach. How do I be a life coach? And so this morning when I dropped him off at school, I said, if you were going to tell somebody how to be a life coach, what would you say? And he said, first of all, you got to get a life. And I was like, okay. And he was like, second, you got to have some trauma to heal through. And I said, okay, to help people with. And he said, well, what if somebody doesn't have trauma? He was like, you know what? I'll give them some trauma. I will traumatize them, and then I will help them through the trauma. And I was like, that sounds like a Ponzi scheme. Like, and he was like, yeah, we're gonna make some quick bucks. And I was like, no. He's very smart. Very smart. Yes, he is. Okay, and then I have, I think that's it as far as the tools and practices.
I was gonna say like yoga, like going to yoga, or like exercising, or just spending time with like friends that kind of like are on the same wavelength as you. Also like kind of taking account of all the people that are like in your close circle, and are they a positive or a negative aspect in your life? You kind of have to like, okay, like, you can try to work with them, and if it doesn't really work out, then they kind of have to like, bamuska.
I agree with you. Like, sometimes that is part of our shadow too, like being around people that are not exactly in alignment or in the same wavelength, the same frequency. And it's like, why are we keeping them like in our inner circle? And maybe that's a fear of like not being loved or not having people near you. But like when you're keeping things in like that, it's not allowing space for new things that are in alignment to come in.
Well, and also like when you first meet someone, maybe like your frequency is on the same like level, but then like life happens and you evolve, and if you're not evolving together, then you're evolving away from each other, and that is perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine. Like people can come and go. I mean, and of course do it in a positive, like a healthy way. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this isn't really like working out. Like maybe we should just go, you go your way, I'll go my way, you know? Maybe later on down the road we can meet back up again. Yeah,
and it's nobody's fault. You just go through different ebbs and flows in life, and sometimes your values or like belief systems like go in different ways, and that's okay. But a good indicator is, how do I feel around this person?
Yep. And after you leave, how do you feel?
Did that person uplift me? Did they make me feel empowered? Did they help support me? Like, do I feel like energized, or do I feel icky and yucky? And maybe it's nothing that person did. It's the mismatch in frequency levels.
Yeah.
I have here how to integrate your shadow.
Nice.
Yes. So I have the darkness and the light. So I wanted to say a piece about, you cannot have growth without having something to bounce off of, right? And so you have to have the darkness and the light in order to experience that and experience life. Like, you have to have contrast.
Yeah. I mean, because how will you know what light is unless you've been in the dark? And the dark isn't always bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like self-growth. I don't know, and like sometimes I connect with dark things. I don't know, like Tim Burton is very dark. I connect with that. Like Edward Scissorhand, kind of like dark, like artistic stuff. I really enjoy that. Some people like what's those psychopath people that kill people, and they watch their little documentaries.
Oh, like serial killer documentaries?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, but I couldn't watch that for too long.
I almost became a serial killer, like, psychologist.
I was like, you want to become a serial killer?
was the timeline like that I was headed down, and I was like,
that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad I did do that, even though it was very interesting to me. But
that would be, I don't know, I couldn't handle that.
Yeah, well, that's why I made the detour route. I can't even watch scary movies.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry. What were we saying?
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, even politics I could see would be very kind of like heavy energy too.
Yeah, definitely. I like, how do you experience like super high elated vibrations and frequencies of like joy, excitement, like happiness, unless you know what sadness and grief and sorrow and like depression and all of those things feel like? Like, you have to have the juxtaposition to feel them, otherwise everything would be neutral all the time. It would just be neutrality, and that's not fun. I try to remind myself that when I'm in those lower states.
Yeah, it sucks though. It's
we're here.
It's difficult though when you're in it, when you're like in the fucking shit. Like, fuck, man, this energy is so heavy, heavy. But just know, like, on that heaviness, there's like light at the end of the tunnel.
Once you go through tower moments, like, over and over again, it's like, oh, I'm in a tower moment. Like, I know I'll be out, so that gives you like that little like life preserver.
Whenever I pull the tower in tarot, I enjoy it. I like it. I'm like, thank God. So with tarot, with the tower, it's basically old structures basically falling down.
Yep.
So new structures can be built back up again. Yeah.
You know, I've been in a tower moment for a spicy hot minute, and I keep telling myself like it's something new is coming. Yeah. Like, and that's why sometimes we're in that void space where like the old stuff is breaking down and the new stuff hasn't come in yet, but we just have to kind of like ride the wave and integrate into the beautiful butterfly that we're about to become, right? So yeah. And it's like, when you do get on the other side of that, it's like, I can breathe. It's like literally coming up and being like, I can breathe now.
Yeah. It just kind of, I just hate being in it, because like, I feel like I can't enjoy life at that moment sometimes. Just like, it's
be like that.
It's so heavy.
I said it'd be like that.
Yeah. And it's difficult to see like your friends and family going through that shit too.
That's why it's also good to have those type of people that are in it with you, that like rock with you on that deep level, because 9 times out of 10, when you have good solid inner circle people, that I'll be going through a tower moment, but you're not going through a tower moment.
Exactly.
And so like, life brings you people that you can cycle with like that. Like, oh, maybe I'm in it right now, but my friend whomever, Traci, is not, and I can talk to her and she can help me out. And then when she's in the tower, we can just
communication, bro. Communication.
Yeah.
Because like, even if it's a tinge, like sometimes I just know like something's off.
Yeah.
And like, of course, sometimes we don't want to put that burden onto other people. Sometimes like we want, and that's all right. Like, to kind of like work through it by yourself. But sometimes it is nice to collaborate with someone. Because like, you can see from the outside what's going on when I'm like clouded with like sadness. And sometimes like whenever I was going to see Eric and I was like, oh, I'm so sad. Like once I leave him, I'm gonna be sad coming back home. And like, no. You're not gonna be sad. You're gonna be energized. You're gonna be energized, so when you come back, you can work on your business and get shit done. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because you're just too in it. And like, this recent bout of shadow work, integration period. So I asked you about it, and then I asked 3 of my other friends, and they all gave me different perspectives.
Cool.
And helped me shift out of that a lot quicker than I have in the past. But that's because I was vulnerable and told those people what was going on and said, I need help. I need help seeing this from a different perspective, instead of just trying to internally figure out everything, because you can only get so far with that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yep. I agree.
The other part that I had was forgiveness of self. So there are so many times in our lives, especially in mine, where like I have acted ways or done things, and in the past I have been very negative to myself, past versions, and said like, you could have done this differently. Like, why did you do that? Why did you say that? Why did you make that choice? And all of those things. And all that does is push them down further. Mm-hmm. And push them and push them and push them. And so how I have connected to my past versions is to say, will you forgive me for treating you that way? Because y'all were just doing the best that you could with what you had at that consciousness level. And I thank you because you went through some really heavy shit to get me to where I'm at right now. Like, I am eternally grateful for all of you for doing all of those things to get me here.
No, yeah, I've done that same thing too, where like something from the past, I'm like, ew, like, why did I date that guy? Like, that's so disgusting, Traci. Like, what, like, dude, like, I was doing what I had to do in that moment. Like, be nice to Traci back then. Like, I kind of like, I'm defending myself with myself. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to keep myself, and then I'm like trying to defend myself.
Yeah. And that's where we go back to is taking care of your younger selves really helps you heal in the present now. Like, would you talk to your friend like that?
Yeah.
Well, like, I would never speak to you that way, right? Like,
no,
oh my God, you know what I mean? But you have to envision that those are consciousness forms of yourself. Yeah. And when you talk to them like that, it's mirroring right back to you in the present now, and it's just damaging everybody.
Yeah.
And I have to catch myself still. Like, that's not something you just like fully heal, or maybe you do, but you don't just like fully heal from. So. Like, I think it constantly, it still happens. It's just the duration of time that it happens for, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, when you do it so many times where you're like, nope. Like, the period of time that it happens in between, it gets smaller and smaller. I have another thing that I've been telling people about. I don't know if you're the one that taught me this or not, but basically, like, okay, like, there's a problem that keeps happening. Like, okay, I was working for a company I was not happy with. I wanted to leave the job. So I imagined, like, my spirit guide team. Like, I got my spirit guide team in a room. I'm like, whoever's in charge of this aspect of my life, whoever's in charge of this aspect of my life, if you don't get it together, then you're going to be fired. Or I'll say, like, maybe you need to take the time off and let someone else, like, fill in for your job because this isn't working anymore. And you can do that with anything, you know what I mean? Like, you're trying to get over, like, an ex, or like you and your friend got into a fight, and like you have these thought loops in your mind. Like, you can use that with like any aspect. Like, who's in charge of this? Because you're not doing a good job.
That was so long ago, I feel like. Like, when we were talking about that, because I was like, let's break our lives down into like big chunks. So like finances, career, like hobbies, like these big major pieces of us, relationships, whatever, being a parent. And we get assigned guides, or we pick guides, right, to help us with these things. They're just like friends. Sometimes you fall out of resonance with a guide. Like, your guide is not helping you at the capacity that you want. Like, sometimes we pedestalize spirit guides and say, like, oh, they're the all know be all, right? They're just like your friends, like, with special tools and skills. And sometimes you're not in alignment with that guide, and you got to switch them out and try new things. And so, like Traci was saying, like, you can take some time off. I'm giving you a severance package.
You can be nice about it. Before I'm like, you're fucking fired.
Right. We're gonna get a new one in here. And you can also ask specific guys to be on your team. It doesn't have to be like just whomever you work with. It's like if you want to work with Ganesh, like, he's a remover of obstacles, you can ask Ganesh to come in and be on your team, or you can ask Kali to come on your team, especially with like shadow work. Like, Kali is great for that. You can pick your guides. Like, you don't have
I've never done that before though. Like, pick specific like genies, or like
you can pick you can pick specific ones and say, I want you to be on my team, and please help me with this. Please give me guidance, because they have a special skill set to help you with. Mm-hmm. You can also, I was watching this video, and the woman's name is Sonia Choquette. She's great about spirit guides, and she was saying, like, if you're trying to find a house, you can literally, like, etherically call a real estate agent that has passed on to the other side, like a spirit guide, and say, like, I need a real estate agent spirit guide to come and help me. And then, like, that's what happens when we pass on to the other side. She was saying, is like, we can be called, like, to come help people with things, right? And I was like, oh, that's such an interesting concept.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
I mean, even if it's not a real thing, like, in your mind, at least it's kind of, like, helping you cope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, one day, like, something was happening with a friend, and I was having this thought loop that would not stop. Mm-hmm. So I was like, fuck this. Like, whoever's in charge of this, like, in my mind, I'm like, you're fired because you're mm-hmm. not doing your job correctly. And then, like, not even a couple minutes later, like, the thought loop stopped. Mm-hmm. And it was going all day long. I'm like, mm-hmm. This is going to make me go cuckoo. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like you're saying, like, even if you don't believe in the woo esoteric.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, if you break down your consciousness as different pieces, like a council that's working together, and then you tell that part of your subconscious or spirit guide interjects, you're not working out.
Yeah.
We got to do something different here. Like, that's a way to reprogram too. Like, if you don't believe in all the woo. Yeah. Yes. Okay, Tracy, did you have anything else that you wanted to share?
Well, let's ask, does anyone else want to, like, chime in?
Any questions, comments, advice, tips or tricks?
Yeah, or something that maybe we were talking about that you would like us to touch more on? Don't be shy.
I will say that something that has really helped me on my journey is to, when something comes up, is to keep asking why.
What do you mean?
Why do I feel that way? And then I get an answer, okay, but why do I feel that way? Like, that's a good way to keep, like, digging at that shadow, is because there's always another answer. There's literally always another answer.
Are you saying with, like, patterns?
Anything, any emotion that comes up, and you say, why am I angry? Usually under anger, there's sadness. And under sadness, there's something else, like guilt or shame. And under that is something else, it's a memory. And under that is something else. Like, you can just keep going back. So if you get stuck on an emotion and you're having a hard time processing it, you can just keep asking, like, why do I feel this way? And again, don't keep picking. Like, you need the integration period.
Yeah.
But you can say why, get that answer, have the integration, sit on that, process it, and then a couple weeks and months later, come back to it and ask why again.
Yeah.
And it starts to unravel that trauma yarn ball.
I like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. When you find the way to, or discover the way, do you find blocks in changing the why? Let's see. When you find the way or discover the way, do you find... Yes, blocks will happen. Mm-hmm. And mostly it's something that's happened in the past that kind of is holding you back from evolving. Mm-hmm. And you kind of have to heal somewhat of that part of yourself. And you can do that by, like, working, like journaling, or like working with someone else, like Brittany and I do, or like kind of just sitting with yourself and like tearing that old structure down and then rebuilding it back up again. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that looks like too, with when you find out what the why is, are you intellectualizing, processing those emotions? Like, let's say that I experienced something in my childhood, right? And so I find out what the why is, but then I'm not actually sitting with the sadness and not actually sitting with the anger and not actually processing that. And so if I try and dig to another why, it's not going to heal it. It's going to get blocked.
Sometimes
let you see it.
Sometimes with those blocks, though, too, like, you're only supposed to get so far.
Yeah, it's that integration. Sometimes you find something and you literally have to leave it alone for like 6 months until you get triggered again by something else in the future, and then that's your opportunity to heal from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, sometimes it's a process.
Yeah, you're not meant to just shadow work all the time, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and also, like, with working with, like, your inner child, sometimes it's not it's not easy to connect with your inner child because your inner child doesn't really trust you. Mm-hmm. And you have to allow it. You have to do things for your inner child to feel safe for it to come out.
Yeah, that's a big one because trauma's scary and children are children. And so they're not going to come up usually and just like start talking to you about everything. Like you were saying, like we have to build like relationships with them first and let them know like, hey, this is a safe space. Yeah. One, I'm not talking down to you. This is a safe space. I'm coming in as a love support. And if that means us just sitting together, that's okay. And you can tell me when it's time.
Or is your environment safe? Are the people that are around you, is it safe? Mm-hmm. Like, that your inner child won't come out unless all of these things are, like, kind of aligning up. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes other people can bring it out in you. Like, sometimes I'm around people and, like, they're so, like, childlike. I'm like, oh, my God, my inner child fucking loves you, man.
Mm-hmm. How do you know when to stop? How do you differentiate between something you should keep working on and something you need to leave alone for a while?
How do you know when to stop?
I think...
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
When it feels like you're not making any progress.
Okay, yeah.
Like if you feel like you're making progress on the situation, that means that you're in that forward movement. Like you can see how things around you are changing or how your mindset is changing. Like you can see actualized things that are making a difference. If you feel like it's something that you just keep going at and going at and going at and going at, maybe that's not something you need to heal through right now. Maybe you need to heal in other places of your life and then circle back around to it.
Or maybe just integrate and just chill out and play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the other side of what we were saying too. Like if you are trying to heal something and you are in anxiety, depression, and anger and sadness, that is a very, I'm going to say, quote unquote, lower vibration. Okay. And you need to get in there to fix things, to heal things. But if you're stuck in that vibration, it doesn't lift you up out of it. You just get seeped and sucked in it. And so sometimes that means you going in to heal, getting into the shadow, and then you going to go do something fun. And through doing something fun, it brings you up out of that so you can look at it from that different perspective.
That reminds me of yoga. Like there's the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. Mm-hmm. When you're feeling in like a lower aspect, like a lower vibration, they say that you need more of a yang practice, right? Because it's getting your blood circulating, you're getting up, you're moving your body, you're getting your heart rate like beating. And then if you're in a yang, more of like a sympathetic, like you're just going, like I gotta get this done, blah, 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 and like you're gonna burn yourself out, you need to go into more of a yin practice where I just need to, and I have a problem with that. I have a problem of just chilling out, especially when I'm by myself. Like I can't just sit and watch fucking TV and not like want to work on my business. Mm-hmm. So it's like finding that balance when you're in yin, find more of a yang, and when you're in a yang, find more of a yin.
Yeah. When we're healing shadow aspects of us, that is very triggering to our physical body. Like we go in fight or flight, our central nervous system is activated, like our body like gets really constricted. And so do you think that you're looking at that situation objectively? Probably not. Because physiology-wise, as human beings, when we're in constriction mode, we tunnel vision, right? And so we need to get there to look at it. But in order to just like to get cortisol, to get stress hormones out, you got to do something to get that up out of your body, whether that's dance or sing or exercise or whatever, the yoga, stretch, whatever. And then that lifts you up out of there. So that now you can look at it from a different perspective, from that lighter vibration.
Because when you're in a negative aspect, it's kind of hard to think like objectively.
Yeah, you're just, it's your body trying to get you out of that situation as quickly as possible. And sometimes that is not the best answer for healing.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just rest. Like, just chill out. Read a fucking book. Listen to some music and watch a fucking movie. You know what I mean? Play on TikTok.
Yeah, self-care is so important when you're doing shadow work. Like, so important, because if you get stuck and bogged down in, let's say you're trying to heal anxiety and depression, you can make it worse by being and trying to heal all that. It's the same thing in a different flavor. Like this same exact thing. And so you have to do things to counterbalance those frequencies. Yeah. And that looks like you taking a bath. Or you going to sit by a lake, or coloring in a coloring book.
I like doing that.
Yes. Me too. I need to do it again. That's really funny. So I sing in the bathroom. Highly recommend it. Yeah, singing is so great. Singing like takes. It does. This is the singing queen. The singing queen here. Karaoke queen. Yeah. It takes so much stuck and stagnant energy out of your body. Like, it really makes you feel better. Yeah. Traci doing karaoke 24/7.
Oh yeah, I would. I totally would.
Yes. I had something else, but I can't remember what I was going to say. I don't know. It lost me. But singing's really good. Like, I was dancing in my living room earlier. I actually took a video of myself. I'm trying to figure out if I want to post it or not. But it's okay. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. But I felt so much better afterwards. It was like all that stress that I was feeling, like, it didn't matter when I was in the moment. Like, that's a great way, like, active meditations to clear your mind. Like, if you keep your body moving, sometimes that is more beneficial than you trying to sit in the quiet for 15 minutes. But like, that helped me release so much stress. Cool. And I was so present and just didn't care about what was going on. And I felt so much better afterwards.
I couldn't imagine, like, when we're in a room together, like, our inner childs are going to be like, yay!
Yeah. Let's go to freaking out.
Let's go be fairies and go on a hike and
yes. I'm very excited. It's going to be fun. Airy Fairyland. Let's see. Okay, well, I think we are going to finish up here, but we had so much fun. This is awesome.
Thank you for everyone that came.
Yes, and for everybody that chimed in and who's watching. And I'm going to be posting this on YouTube, and it'll be on Instagram. So if you didn't catch the first part, it'll be up later. Yes, and thank you, Traci.
Yeah, thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it.
Always, I love you very much.
Love you too, girl.
All right, we'll talk to everybody later.
Thank you.